What up, guys? Welcome to the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And a lot of times when we speak to you guys, we're coming to you from the sort of after the fact, after it's over, after the thing that we're dealing with is done. And then we, hopefully dole out a little bit of advice to you or some idea to chew on that can be useful. When we have guests on, we're interviewing them and talking about the struggles they've dealt with and overcome. But today we get to talk to you from the standpoint of actually being in it and talking about what we're going to do and what we have done and kind of the process. And so, for any of you guys that are dealing with injuries or have dealt with injuries, you will deal with injuries at some point. Or if you've ever dealt with the frustration of not performing in a competition like you'd like, or like that you're capable of, which I did this past weekend, which I've done before, but it's been a long time since I've done it. We're going to get into some ideas on how to course correct, recover, get better performances in the future. And hopefully this will help you all, whether you are, experiencing an injury, frustration after a poor performance or anything of that sort. And so stick with me and Eugene, and we'll help you out with that and give you some ideas to chew on and also kind of pull back the veil of social media. Because a lot of times we get to come to you, this is what they say, like, the social media, someone's Instagram page is their highlights, right? When everything's going good. We get to be with you guys while things aren't so good, not necessarily terrible, but not the best, and talk to you real time. And then you also get to see, over the course of the months where, ideally Eugene will recover and I will dig myself out of this and come back in form. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. And big thanks to our sponsors for helping make this thing happen. Athletic, Mints. The Athletic is a company. The name, by the way, is ATHLETHC. THC, little play on words there, because they do have microdose THC mints. If you're watching the video version, you can see their little box here, Athletic. Again, they make several different products, one called Flow, one called Rebound, and then one called Power. And these are all different mints formulated with different cannabinoids and compounds to basically produce a different function. Obviously, you can think about Rebound, you can think about Flow, you can think about the Power, and you can sort of guess which one, right? And in each one, there's 14 milligrams of hemp active, and then there's 2 milligrams of THC. So 2 milligrams is not going to be anything crazy, right? It's not going to be like that gummy that you ate that one time and you felt like crazy afterwards, like you were getting ready to have hallucinations, or you were just out of your mind for a few hours. Nothing like that. It's very mild, but there's a noticeable effect. And again, it can be really useful if you're trying to again get into one of those states where you're trying to recover a little bit better, whether you're trying to get into a more relaxed state of mind so you can flow through things better and think a little bit differently. If you guys want to try out any of their supplements, I think really that's the best way to kind of explain it. It's always like that, right? Think about rolling. Kind of hard to explain what rolling feels like until you're in it. Sometimes when you're getting someone as a coach, you're getting them to do a technique. It's really helpful to get them to feel the position first. And with supplements, it's kind of the same thing. It's really useful if you want to try them out to just feel it for yourself and experience it for yourself. Their products are at athletic.com, so ATHLETHC. And the promo code is Chewjitsu10, CHEWJITSU. 10 for 10% off if you want to check them out. Also, thanks to our buddies over at Epic Roll. EpicRollBJJ.com is the website. They make amazing jiu-jitsu gear. I personally think they have some of the best rash guards and shorts on the market. I've tried like a bunch of different companies, big companies you guys know about, and like bang for your buck, price for price, the fit, everything else. They're one of my favorites. You know what I mean? Like, again, you can figure out whatever you want, but a lot of the other stuff that's comparable to them is like even more expensive, like way more expensive. And their stuff is good and it's well priced. And I like the designs and everything else. And I get my stuff made through them for my gym and everything else, and for the orders that I do online. So if you've ever bought anything from me, rash guard shorts wise, it's been with them, right? Except for one other instance a long time ago. But again, if you guys want to check them out and see what kind of gear they have, or t-shirts or anything for that matter, anything jiu-jitsu related, they have it at epicrollbjj.com. And the promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order. Also, thanks to our longtime sponsor, Charlotte's Web. Again, they specialize in CBD products, but they also make a lot of other stuff now with things like functional mushrooms, CBN, which can be great for sleep, some different balms and rubs and things like that. But again, some really terrific products. Their focus, again, it was years ago when they started. They made basically they were making supplements. The way they got started was really interesting. Basically, there was a young girl named Charlotte. That's where the name came from. And they started making CBD oil for her in order to support her with seizures and things like that she was having. And ever since then, the litmus test, or the thing that sort of is their overarching ideas. Would this be good enough for Charlotte? And so they produce products, but again, in things like CBD, which is unregulated, they go an extra step. They have their products third-party tested, right? And they know what's in there. What's on that label, what's in that bottle. And again, they make a lot of good stuff. And again, like for me, I use their stuff mostly for recovery, but I encourage everybody to try it if you're interested. Because again, for me, I used to think that, like when I first saw CBD, I was like, this is snake oil. This isn't real. Because I remember hearing about it like 2012. I was like, yeah, this is stupid, whatever. And I tried. I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good stuff. I actually like it. And again, if you guys want to check them out, you can go to charlottesweb.com, and the promo code is Chewjitsu30 for 30% off the order. It's a great discount on their products. And again, Chewjitsu30 at checkout at charlottesweb.com. Also, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Chewjitsu podcast. And again, when you do that, you'll get access to a membership that we have for our podcast. You get a bunch of different perks that you can look up if you're interested, and you get it for a very affordable price. There's also a bunch of different things like seminar recordings, stretching routines, and things like that that we've included right out of the gate. Plus extras get added each week. And so if you guys want to check that out, it's patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And last but not least, if you guys want to get my daily email, including a special guide that I give away called Folks Jiu-Jitsu, you can do so by going to my website at chewjitsu.net/join. Also, I would just tell you guys, I'm currently, at the time of recording this, and when you guys hear this, I have my Chewjitsu Masters Vault, which is opening up now. And this is a program that is focused on, as it might imply, older grapplers. And so that's kind of where my jiu-jitsu is, 30 and up, right? The jiu-jitsu, obviously there's a lot that's similar, but there's a lot of things that change. And the program is not necessarily geared towards a specific belt rank necessarily, but it's geared towards efficient, effective jiu-jitsu that works at the age groups that we're focusing in. Because if you, as someone that watches a lot of jiu-jitsu, you see things change. As someone that's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was a teenager, I've seen my own game change. And again, the strategies that are going to keep you on the mats and keep you effective as you grow older are going to be different than the ones that young people use. But when you look at a lot of the information that's out there, it's usually young competitors teaching stuff. And that's fine, right? They're really good. Not that you can't learn from that, but you have to adapt it, again, for an older game, for an older person, where things have to change. And so again, he goes through, there's a lot of stuff that the modules are going to be included, but it will also include a print newsletter sent to your door every month. And if things go well, that also allows me to have a little fun with it as far as stuff that I'm going to be sending you. So anyway, if you want to get information on it, it's on release until the 22nd. So you don't have a lot of time to act if you're listening to this, but if you guys want to get it, you can go to my website, or one of you join the Chew Crew, you'll get it. But otherwise, you can go to my website at chewjitsutraining.com/invite, INVITE. Special short launch that we're doing. I'm going to see who's interested in it and give away some special bonuses for the time being if you join up before the 22nd. Check it out at my website. Now, all right, guys. So as I said before, Eugene and I are going through some stuff. So we're going to talk about injuries and overcoming some stuff from competition. So you can talk first about the injury part of it. So what do you got going on?
All right. So I haven't, I'll tell you, the last time I had a serious, I wouldn't say serious, but that I had to take time off of training. It's probably, I was a purple belt. So maybe 5 years ago, like
that arm.
Yeah.
That was pretty serious.
Yeah.
Your arm broke.
Yeah. I had a fracture, radial fracture. I didn't need any kind of surgery, basically. Just kind of couldn't really, I didn't even have it casted. I just kind of didn't really use it. I don't even know if that's probably the right thing to do. I had it x-rayed, and they sent my x-rays to a doc that I knew. He's an old school doctor, and he's like, just try not to use it. So I was like, all right. So I kind of did my own rehab, tested it, as I could. But I was out for probably, before I could really train fully, probably 4 months, something like that.
Because I remember I was on the mat, and like for you guys listening, the way he did it was one of the guys did a collar drag. And when he hit the ground, he posted on his hand. And then all of a sudden, everybody heard like a gunshot go off, just a crack.
Yeah.
And
I thought I was going to crap myself. That's how it felt. You get the adrenaline rush.
mhm.
But yeah, actually it was my buddy Ben, who is now Ben's like a neurologist.
Yeah,
like a
neurologist.
pretty
By
good doc.
the way, crazy story about him, just as a quick side tangent, guys. Just this is nothing to do about anything, but it's a crazy story.
It is.
So Ben's a neurologist, or he was in school, medical school, and his whole thing is he wants to be a neurologist. That is his focus, right? So he's in this, they're doing, whatever sort of, stuff for neurology, and they say, hey, who wants to have a brain scan done so that we can, use it as an example?
Sure.
He says, sure, I'll do one. Do this free brain scan. He has no symptoms of nothing. He feels great, right? No problems at all. And they find a damn tumor.
Yep.
What? Like, he finds a tumor. So he finds a cancerous tumor in his brain. Like, and they
unbelievable.
They operate on it, save him. He's fine, has a family, wife, the whole thing. Now you're like, I mean, you don't have to believe in a higher power.
Unbelievable.
But sometimes I'm like, man, like, when I see things like that, I'm like, I don't know, man.
And no symptoms, active guy. And Ben would come in every now and again. So like me and Ben I think we were purple belts at the time. And he'd be so sporadic in his training that I would kind of get the better of him. So I started playing with him. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And Ben would kind of be kind of aggressive.
We used to call him Brawler.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we used to call him, because it wasn't like a mean guy. He was a rowdy roll, and that was okay.
And so like I'm playing with him, I kind of sweep him, and I just stand up and I'm like, Ben, you're not gonna do shit. And he grabs my collar and just yanks the shit. And before I knew it, my hand, just instinctually, and I knew not to do that. We all know not to do that, but like it was so quick. And so that took me out for a while. Which sucked, but I kind of did some stuff where I just tucked my hand in a little bit, did stuff probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But I was young and kind of wanted to get at it. I was competing and training quite a bit, so I really wanted to get at it. So now I'm in my 40s now, so that was a long time ago. Now I'm dealing with not a major thing, but it could be a major thing. So
it basically it will the way that you go about things will determine the severity of it long term.
It absolutely can. So I with all of us with wrestling and jiu-jitsu and takedowns, we're kneeling a lot. We're on our knees a lot. So I was rolling with one of our white belts. He kind of awkwardly fell backwards, trying to pull guard. He almost like didn't pull guard. He just fell, and all of our body weight landed on my left knee. Like, and I was like, shit, it hurt really bad, but I was like, it's okay. It's fine. Like I kind of finished rolling. I played off my back and then kneel. And so over time that knee kind of stayed irritated. And then it started like a month ago, it just started to swell like real bad, like just out of nowhere, just kind of start. I was still training, but I'd get like a knee pass. Like it was getting like a little uncomfortable to kneel. And then one day just kind of swelled up real big. And I was like, this is a problem. And it stayed swollen for a bit, wouldn't go down. So I was like, all right, well, I got to get this thing drained. I went to the doctor probably a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, and they drained it. And they said, give it a week. Don't kneel on it. You can live life normally, just don't kneel. You can lift, do everything. Within 2 days, that thing swelled back up on me. So I was like, shit. So now I'm like, all right, this is, and a lot of times with bursitis, so it's bursitis. Essentially, you have a fluid-filled sac kind of on the front of your knee, prepatellar bursitis. And if you aggravate that, if you kneel a lot or land on it hard, it can get swollen. And that bursa can stay inflamed and swollen. So that's what it was. So they drained it, got back swollen again. So I'm like, well, I gotta go back to the doctor, because I said I might need to get it taken care of. So a couple days ago, I go to the doctor and he's like, all right, here's the thing. We can drain it, and they drained it again, less fluid this time, and they also shot some cortisone in there for inflammation to get the inflammation down. He's like, you have to ice this thing, compress it. You cannot do any lower body. You can't squat. You can't, you can't train, can't kneel, just because the shear forces on that patella, on the kneecap, like bending the knee and straightening, it's going to shear it, and it's going to create that inflammation and irritation. The fear and the danger with that is the bursa can get infected. It gets infected and you're in a whole host of other problems. So I can't kneel on it. So I'm like, all right, I got to take this shit real serious, because I thought they're going to drain it and be good to go. Not the case. So right now I'm like, if my swelling does not improve, I might need surgery. And they might have to basically like cut it down the front of my knee, remove that bursa. I have to have a wound vac, meaning this thing attached to my knee that sucks the fluid out, and I have to have that for 2 weeks. Obviously, I'm going to have an incision that needs to heal, and it's like a long process. And then the knee could still potentially get swollen. So it's like, now I'm like up against it. And so like I had all these plans. I was getting ready to compete in January at the Jiu-Jitsu Open, getting ready for that. work on my strength training. Now I have to completely pivot. So no strength training for the lower body. I can't squat, can't do a whole lot. There's some stuff, you know, me and Eli are going to be working on, but I get to bro lift for the next month. So I just do upper body.
Bench press and curls.
Yeah. But like, I've just like, it's hard to be the person on the other side. Cause like, it didn't really hit me. I was like, all right, whatever. You know, it's just bursitis, but now it's like, it's not going away. It's become this chronic thing. Now I'm the patient. Now I'm not like the person giving the advice. Now I'm the patient.
So imagine that you were giving advice to a patient, not yourself. What would you tell them?
Well,
what would you tell them to do?
What I'm doing right now is I'm following the doctor's instructions to a T. He said, no, obviously no grappling. I cannot kneel on the knee for a month. Can't do any lower body strengthening for a month. I am icing the shit out of it, like as much as I can, like 20 minutes. He told me 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. That's impossible. So like I literally have my ice pack in my car and I'm icing it while I'm driving. Like I'll get where I'm going. I'll put it in the fridge or the freezer. I'll put my ice pack. And right now I'm icing my knee. Ice is good for pain. He's, you know, the knee feels hot. So I don't really have any pain. The knee feels hot. So I'm icing it. He told me to ice it. And I got a compression sleeve. So compression's good. And I'm elevating it. And I'm just following the doctor's instructions to a T. I'm taking some anti-inflammatories. And I'm just like, and right now, the swelling has not gotten worse. It's still more swollen than my other leg, but
yeah,
it hasn't blown up like the other leg blew up. Like when I did the first time, blew up within 2 days. So yeah, they shot cortisone in it for inflammation. So right now I'm like, dude, I am on it. This is like, I'm bummed as shit. Like I'm bummed because I feel like I have to now change so much of what my plans were.
Sure.
Sucks.
That's the way it works.
It sucks.
I mean, it's fine. It's like, it is what it's not fun, but it's like, it's what we all deal with. I mean, you know, I remember tearing my meniscus cartilage as a kid, teenager, basically. Right. And then, fully tore it when I was 18 years old or 19 years old, came back to training, way too quickly. Like I competed in jiu-jitsu a month after the surgery. So a month, almost to the day, I competed in jiu-jitsu, and a bad idea. Obviously lost some degrees of movement in my right leg. When I came back from the surgery in 2014, I remember I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess this up. And so I was teaching. And so moving around a little bit, but very lightly. And by moving, I mean, I'm teaching, I'm not doing any drilling, no, nothing. And then I set a sort of a calendar for myself, which started off with like absolutely no rolling, no drilling, no nothing for about 4 weeks. And then it started off with drilling. And I didn't actually have my first roll until like 12 weeks after the surgery. Cause I was like, I put it in like I find that for me, like if I write down a plan for myself, it's a lot easier for me to stick to it rather than sort of make a sort of internal promise. You know, if I write out like a goal for myself, say, okay, here's what I'm going to be doing. Here's the plan. It's kind of almost like a diet plan. You know, when you got a guy's plan, you say, okay, well, here's my food. Or if you got a lifting plan, here's my lifting plan. I know what I'm going to do, opposed to, you know, do I feel like doing this lift? And I feel, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. So for me, I write that out. And then that seems to help me, even like with my like camps, getting ready for training. We're all busy as can be. And so sometimes it's tough squeezing in the extra cardio or whatever. So, but if I write it, hey, Tuesday, we got to do this. It's a little bit easier for me to do, but I remember I did that and my recovery was a lot better after, you know, giving it 3 months basically of time before I got back to training. And then I competed and it was fine. And my left leg's fine now.
Yeah. That's a smart thing to do. And that's the thing too. It's like I have a month of literally very restricted activity. Now, getting back to it, as soon as that month is up, am I going to be training? Probably not. It's going to be like, hey, can I kneel on this knee? I mean, first of all, my range of motion's fine. I'm going to get back to strength training, start slow, and then just get my way back and adjusting how I train. Like I may avoid really some takedowns for a bit. I may avoid passing guard, any kind of kneeling position. So I may play off my back and literally just work on submissions off my back where I decrease the risk. Now, the other thing, there's a lot of, knee braces and shit like that. Knee braces for like structural assistance. Like some of these knee brace companies are out there. Like that's full shit. They're not going to do anything.
But by the way, guys, what he's talking about,
we don't have to say the name.
No, we don't have to say the name.
No.
But there are companies in jiu-jitsu that like will say, oh, this particular knee brace. And by knee braces, it's like, you know, it's not a real knee brace with like the big metal things. It's basically a knee sleeve with some straps and stuff around it. They'll say, oh, you know, I tore my ACL, so I took this one. That's hogwash, right? Like you're not going to support your ACL with some Velcro, straps and a little bit of cloth.
100%.
It'll feel warm. It might feel nice.
Yeah.
It might give you a little support, a little bit, but like the braces that are going to support your ACL are the big metal ones that you may have seen people wearing like wrestling and stuff, where these big giant clunky metal
You'll
ones.
see like if you watch football,
yeah,
they'll have linebackers will wear them, like
linemen too. Yeah,
linemen, exactly. Yeah, linemen will wear them like they're these big ones. They're fitted and they have all this. There's no way you can train jiu-jitsu with those. But like the stuff that I'm going to wear, like, 'cause I'm going to wear probably knee pads, like that at least give me a little cushion. There's nothing that I found that's ideal. You still put pressure. So like the idea for me, I've got some ideas on this where I can,
I'll give you some ideas too.
We'll see. Yeah, I've got some. I've tried different stuff. I've tried a couple of the wrestling knee pads specifically, and I've found one that I kind of like. But there's some that I have an idea. There's nothing perfect. And I'm like, man, maybe I need to make like a better knee pad for like grappling and jiu-jitsu and stuff. So I have some ideas, but essentially when I'm kneeling, I got to try to take some of the load off of the knee directly. So however I come back, the type of training I'm going to do, it's going to like how my knee feels. And also the knee can go back and get swollen again. So that's the goal, is not to let it swell back up, because I don't have a lot of shots at this. Like if they have to keep draining it, it's just going to, the fear obviously is that the bursa gets infected. It gets infected. You have a whole other host of problems.
Sure.
And I cannot go that route. I do not want surgery, and like my knee doesn't hurt. It's just, I feel like if I kneel on it, it's like I feel like I'm like I have a water bag on my knee. And so it sucks. It's like you go through like those phases. Like we'll talk about your tournament. Initially kind of like, all right, it's not a big deal. And then you realize, okay, surgery is a possible outcome of this thing. Like, what the hell am I going to do to deal with it? And like, I got a little bit emotional about it, because it's
you
like,
never had surgery.
I haven't.
Yeah.
And, I've helped so many people recover from surgery, but now I'm like, I'm staring at that on the other side of the coin here. And, so I have to really take the advice of my ortho doc, and also take my own advice. What would I tell somebody in my situation? I know how to recover from this thing. I mean, I've helped people recover, hundreds of times from similar issues and knee injuries and coming back. So there's a lot of modifications, but I started kind of focusing on things I can do.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to like, a lot of times it's so much easier to give people advice than it is to like actually take your own advice. This is why I don't mean anything by this, but like, I remember years ago, I was in like a Facebook group, and someone had asked a diet question, and there were all these overweight people giving dieting advice. And I'm like, what they were saying wasn't wrong, but obviously, hey, you're not taking that advice. And I'm not talking about, hey, like, if you're just a thick person, that's, hey, whatever. I'm talking about like, these people are, not in good shape, probably unhealthy, right? This is like, not just you're big, this is not that kind of thing. And so I'm like, it's always easy to give that advice rather than take it. One thing I would say is, like, when you come back, I dealt not with a bursitis, but I had an issue with my knee. Like, this is maybe brown black belt, early black belt. I remember being in early black belt's what it was. I remember, I couldn't drive off my knee, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't put my knee on the ground. I couldn't drive off of it. It was very sore and tender. And so I remember I would literally lay down on the bottom of bottom, and I would just let people get in side control or mount, and I would just defend with my hands. I couldn't even really bridge properly, right? So it's almost all hand defense. And I did that for a while, like several weeks. And I remember that's where I actually gained the ability to, in just a few weeks, it's kind of crazy how fast it can happen. In just a few weeks, I developed the ability to like hand fight from the bottom, to the point where like, I do not feel any fear whatsoever from someone in side control or mount. Like, don't get me wrong, I can still get submitted there, but it rarely ever happens, because if I can get my frame set up, I'm so confident in those that my hand fighting in that position is so good. And I did that in a few weeks, just by basically like giving myself nothing else to do, because that's what I could do. I couldn't get on top of him. I couldn't sweep him. My leg hurt. So I would just lay down and slow the submission. I knew I was going to get submitted, so I wasn't worried about it. I was just like, let me see how long I can defend this stuff. And I remember when I came back to regular rolling, I was like, all of a sudden, like, man, like I didn't actually come back to regular rolling. I came back to basically, I started being able to drive off my leg a little bit. Still couldn't put my knee on the ground. So I would focus on escapes and sweeps, and then I would just go back to the ground. I remember when I came back, I was like, oh, I feel pretty good. Yeah. Like, I don't feel any fear from anybody being on top of me, where that's pretty damn cool. Right. Yeah. And, this is something where we've talked about this before. In a lot of cases, many people that I've met, known, talked to on this podcast, when they go through an injury, they're forced to come through that with some of the most useful information for their game, radically change their game for the better, find new positions, the whole deal. It just as some examples. One of my black belts, Jeff, he busted up rib and some other stuff, couldn't play top game like he wanted to.
Yeah.
He was top player, started playing guard. Now he's predominantly a guard player. He's really damn good at it. All of a sudden he has this new game available to him. Gordo, famously, Roberto Correa, I don't know if that's how you say it, but Gordo was his nickname, and he was, famous for revolutionizing the half guard. Did so because of a motorcycle accident, and he was jacked up. There's lots of those stories where people came through, and even like life stuff, like Stuart Cooper, the sort of documentarian that exists in jiu-jitsu. His whole thing of making videos was started because he was injured.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to do something. He wanted to he stay involved with it, but he literally couldn't train. And so you see these things, and it reminds me of a story. There's I've mentioned it before. There's a story that a guy named Robert Bly, he's big into stories and sort of the symbolism behind them, and would take these stories that would have existed in different cultures, and then breaking down their meanings. And there's this famous one where this person, he was fighting the war, and then he's done with the war. He's been discharged, doesn't know what to do, and he's looking for work. He finds work where this guy says, "Hey, come down into the underworld, and we got work for you." So he goes down into this dark sort of underworld, and when he gets there, he meets this guy, and he says, "All right, I'm here for the job." And he says, "What do you want me to do?" He's like, "I want you to go over and chop wood and keep these fires going." He's like, "I got these 3 kettles. There's fires going. Chop the wood, keep the fires going." And so he goes in there. He says, "All right, fine, I'll chop the wood, whatever." And he says, "Listen, when you're done, you're just not allowed to, you can't shave or anything like that. And whenever you chop the wood up, you'll have a bunch of wood shavings. Put them off to the side, so this way when the door opens, you can't see the wood shavings. It's kind of tucked behind the door." All right, cool. And he's like, "You're going to be here for 7 years." All right. So he's chopping the wood for 7 years, whatever. And, he looks under the pot. He wasn't supposed to, but he looks in the pots, and inside the pots are like different people that had wronged him or done things to him, in different experiences, whatever. And he's cooking the pots. So 7 years comes around, and, the guy comes back and he says, "All right, I've kept these things going. The fire's been going. I've chopped the wood. Where's my pay?" And he's all right. And so the guy goes over to the wood shavings, scoops some of them up, throws them into a sack, says, "Here you go." And the guy's like, "Shit, what? You gave me wood shavings? 7 years, and that's what I get?" And so the guy's frustrated, but he's like, "All right, whatever." He leaves. And as he's going up to the, regular world, the wood shavings, magically turn into gold. Right. And they turn into this big sack of gold that he's got to lug around. And then, there's a whole other side to the story that kind of goes on from there, where it talks about naivete and things like that. A lot of times where we have this special gift and we don't really use it correctly in the beginning, or people take advantage. But that part of it, that initial part of the story is really interesting, because to me, the whole point of it, the whole idea of talking about it, is that when you go through something frustrating, some real frustrating experience, not like, "Oh, I had a bad day because someone was mean," but like when you go through something that really makes you kind of go into a dark place, a lot of times you're cooking with it, so to speak, right? You're changing a bit. A lot of times, when in the symbolism, they'll talk about the idea that heat, when you're in some experience that transforms you, there's a heat to it, so to speak, right? Because if you think of metal's transformed through heat, it becomes soft so that it can be molded. So when you think about when you're frustrated, when you're angry, when you're upset, emotional, there's this heat about you, there's this passion about you, there's this something going on.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments that you change, right? If you're just nice and relaxed and cool and calm, you're not changing, right? And so, but the idea behind it is that then when you're cooking with these experiences, these frustrations, these things that have been wrong to you, whatever it is, right? You're cooking with those experiences. A lot of times we don't recognize that. A lot of times we look at it as garbage, this stuff that this trash that we have off to the side. We don't even respect it. Yeah. And then later on we look at it and go, "Oh man, that was the gold right there. That was the gold." So when he comes up, the idea is the wood chips that he made from chopping the wood while he's cooking with these frustrating things, that became his gold when he went back to the regular world. So when you go through these deep experiences, a lot of times you're forced to dig and change and, whatever it is. And a lot of times when you do that, when you come out of it, you look at it and go, oh, there was the gold.
Yep.
So, going back to our examples, Gordo was forced to change his half guard. Probably didn't enjoy it at the beginning, but that became his gold. It became his position. He used to win lots of competitions and became like a world-renowned black belt in his time. Yeah. Stuart Cooper probably would have rather trained than start doing, videos, but that became the thing that he became really known for. And later on, he came back and he's a good competitor too. My black belt Jeff, hey, like he went there and probably was like, man, I wish I could just do a damn double leg takedown. But instead he's, doing guard sweeps and half guard sweeps. And now he's able to use those very effectively. And it became this like, bright part of his game. And so a lot of times when we go through these frustrating experiences, as frustrating as it may be, that's where we're really getting the gold that we'll use later on. If we, cook with it, if we take in those experiences and we do what we got to do there.
Yeah, I agree. And like, it's going to make my training more deliberate when I come back. I'm going to be very deliberate with my training.
We have to be.
I have to be.
You got to rotate the tires, and you can't be as aggressive with the takedowns. And you're going to have to be very like conscious to avoid certain positions.
Yeah. And so I'm just focused on what I can control. I can still, do upper body training, lifting. So I'm going to focus on that. There's things I can definitely focus on. It gives me a different perspective. Some time to reflect and kind of refocus and get a little more hunger. I'll be hungry coming back. I'm already excited to get back. It's been frustrating, but I'm excited to also be able to speak from the other side of it, being a patient. And it's so important to listen to those people that are specialists. I don't know everything. And, I don't know everything a surgeon knows. I know quite a bit, but, they're going to know, hey, this is what you got to do. And so I'm doing those things, and I'm trying to be positive and focusing on things I can't control, because that's just really, if you're like, man, I can't do these things, I can't compete. I'm excited. I've done the past 2 Jiu-Jitsu Opens in Louisville, and I was like, man, I want to come back. Like I've enjoyed them. I've had good success at those tournaments, and I was itching to get back to it and be home and be comfortable and go to the venue and compete. So it's such an advantage and a gift.
Yeah, it's nice to just be able to go compete and be done with it and go back home.
Yeah. So I'll have to travel. I'll just I'll just have to go somewhere, make a trip out of it, and, see you guys somewhere else and train somewhere else and compete. So I'm excited about that. I did think that I did have another injury, not a major one. I had a finger injury, I had a mallet finger, which is like the extensor tendon.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
It basically your extensor tendon will snap.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is you have to put it in a splint for 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks with a splint, and then you start coming out of that splint. But if you let your knuckle even sag a little bit while you're changing the splint, because those splints get stinky and gross, you have to restart that whole process. So like you're literally holding your finger, and like you have to like reapply the tape to kind of just help.
I mean, you can't let it bend ever.
You can let it bend after it heals. After 8
no,
weeks.
I'm saying like for 8 weeks, it cannot bend.
Cannot.
No shit.
If it was this finger.
Wow.
If it bends at all, like you have to restart the time. And then if you don't do that early enough, your finger it will just like hang down like this.
I mean,
so you won't be able to extend your finger. And it's not a huge deal. It's really not a huge deal for jiu-jitsu, but like you've seen some football players that'll have they'll have their fingers are all mangled. I've got some, destroyed fingers, and I will tape it. I did tape it for a while, but that was the other one that took me out.
How'd you get mallet finger?
Man, I got a caught on the mat.
Okay.
I was coming up, I did a sweep, and as I came up, like my hand just got caught.
Okay.
And it was a flexion injury. So when your finger bends like aggressively like this, it got caught on the mat and flexed. And then I was like, what the hell? It didn't even hurt. Just my finger started sagging. I was like, I know what that is. So that's me, guys. I'm working through this stuff, and I've got a fun video. I posted a fun video how much fluid they took out of my knee, which is a lot. It's about a third of a Coke can. It was a good amount. So,
well, and that's especially when you consider that sometimes if you've ever had any sort of inflammation, even a small amount feels like so much, because you think your body's not designed to have extra fluid just sitting there. Everything's pretty much like where it needs to be. So anytime you have a joint and there's any fluid whatsoever there, it's brutal. Like, I mean, I had a staph infection a few years back, and I remember I got it from a jiu-jitsu camp that I went to, and I remember like when I felt it, I mean, it wasn't even that bad, but man, there was a little bit of fluid pushing up, and my knee felt awful. Yeah. It just felt there was so much pressure.
Yes.
you know.
When they drained it, felt so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, it's a relief. So I'm being smart about it, trying to, and then follow the advice I would give my clients, and just get back slowly and gradually. And I'll show you guys kind of what I do as well, because it's kind of
Yeah, and we'll talk about it as we go, so you guys can kind of
Yeah.
follow along. So this way, it's kind of like an ongoing thing as we go through it.
All right, Chewy, let me set the stage for you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
set the stage.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Something happened to you this weekend that hasn't happened for 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10
Almost 10
years, which is in and of itself incredibly impressive to think about, because let me just preface it this way. The Worlds happened this weekend, and you don't compete in you're competing in Worlds, Pans, like ADCC, like you're doing the big shit, like the really pretty big tournaments, a lot of high level competitors of those. So Chewy, this weekend, it was Nogi Worlds.
Nogi Worlds, yeah.
All right.
And I didn't medal.
You didn't medal.
I did medal. Dude, it's been so long. It's like, and I didn't, when I did it, like I lost it to give you guys to set the stage. I won my first match, was able to use my normal
How'd
stuff.
you feel?
Felt great.
Felt good.
I felt good.
Prep went good.
Everything was fine. My toes are a little jacked up. I've got something going on there, but they were fine at the time.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it.
Yeah, they were fine at the time, and I wasn't too bad off, and I didn't feel them at all, so I was good. First match goes off without a hitch. Get my guard passing going. Got to mount, score my points.
Pretty dominant.
Yeah, it's dominant. It's good. Yeah. Second match comes out, and it's against a guy I've competed against before. I beat him the last time at trials for third place years ago, but he's gotten better since then. And we get going, and we're both like top players, wrestler types. And I got a front headlock that I got him down, but we were out of bounds, so they pull us back in. And then I shoot a blast double, got him with that. But again, we're close out of bounds because I was constantly sort of going forward.
Was he playing the line?
He wasn't intentionally playing the line. I was very aggressive, and we would circle around. He wasn't being he was not being like a weird, type of crappy player. We were playing, and it's where we ended up. And so by the end of it, I remember like pushing him out of bounds. I'm coming back to the center, and I look at the time, and it's about 1:30. And judging by what had happened at this point, I felt like I was going forward. I had the two closest attempts to takedowns, right? So I was like, okay, I think I got this. So I was trying to set up a few things, but I was also trying to be smart because, I've had 2 refs decisions in my IBJJF career, just 2. And both of those I'd won. And I kind of feel like I know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Especially when you're aggressive and you're going forward. Like I had 1 ref's decision when I won Worlds 3 years ago. Where like I kind of knew I was pressing forward, I was going for it. And so I was still trying to go for it. I just couldn't get any options going or any opportunities going, and without really exposing myself.
Right. Which is smart.
It's smart, but sometimes you got to not be smart. And so the end of it, I lost the ref's decision. Now, when I went, we'll go over the guy's name's Will. I actually like that. I think he's cool. We're like competitor acquaintance buddies types people.
Yeah.
I go over, and he's like, man, I don't agree with the decision, but whatever, dude, I'll take it, of course, but I don't agree with the decision. And I was like, of course. And I was like, go get it, dude. And I actually went on I was like in his corner when he was competing against the next opponent, and was like just keeping time for him because he's by himself.
Yeah.
So, after that was over, I didn't really feel too bummed about it because I was like, you win and you lose. It just happens and whatever. But on Sunday, man, I was like, I remember just driving. I just felt that depression was starting to kick in. I was like, and by depression, I don't mean that I'm clinically depressed. When I say depression, I mean depressed state.
Yeah, just down.
Yeah, down, like depressed state, right? Doesn't mean that I'm like depressed, like I'm, going to do self-harm or anything. It just means like, hey, I'm down right now. And I was thinking like, man, why do I feel so crappy? And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I have not done a tournament in almost 10 years where I think the last tournament that I can remember that I did not place at was Master Worlds in 2016. I think that's the last one I can remember where I did not place. Every other tournament since then I've placed at, I've got on the podium or won, right? And so I'm like, this feels so weird. It's so weird to walk off there with like, I still won a great match, and I didn't even get a point scored against me. It was just like a ref's decision. But looking back at it, I was like, all right. So I started watching the match, and I still think that I did enough to win. But it's a ref's decision, so it is what it is, right? It's my fault. I should have done more to try to win the match. I shouldn't have looked at the time and said, okay, I think I got this. I should have pressed more. Should have went for more. Made it more easy for the ref to give me the decision. There's things I could have done, and so looking back at it, I think one thing is. One, I think I gave him a little too much respect.
How so?
I just don't think there were some things where I could have pulled the trigger a little bit more often, and I think that I didn't because I was giving him respect for his guillotine headlock choke that because he's got a good one, and he puts people in a lot of trouble with it. So I was trying to like avoid that. Gave him a little too much respect. My fault. Second is that I think I need to be a little bit more active with my garden competition because I almost never play my garden competition because I don't need it. I can always take everybody down, or basically get the better of the wrestling almost every time. And the only time I will pull guard is if I can't do that, and usually I sweep people, right?
Yeah.
And then or if I'm in an open division where I'm just pull guard and play there. And I think I need to make that more of a weapon because I have a really good guard. I don't say that to be like narcissistic. I just, when like I go to gyms and stuff like that, like I can just pull
Your
guard.
butterfly
I almost always pull
solid.
guard on it. Yeah, I almost always pull guard. So I need to make it more competition ready. So going up at the beginning of this year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into tournaments. I'm not going to watch any video. I'm just going to pull guard on whoever I go against. I don't care who they are. I'm going to pull guard because I'm just like, I know I can take people down. I know I can do that. And hell, I may lose some matches in the process of doing this. And this is okay for me because I want to make sure that my guard game is sharp enough that this way, if I get into a situation like that, well, I'll just pull guard. And if I'm having trouble wrestling, because that used to be my sort of, my mode, right, was like, okay, I either go for the takedown, and in about 2 to 3 minutes, if I can't get the takedown, I pulled guard and go for a sweep, right? Like going back to trials. Trials is like one of those experiences where it's the kind of guy that I want to be at every tournament because I didn't train very hard for trials. I didn't go into it thinking I was even going to place or win or anything because I was like, who am I? Like, I'm going to, whatever. I was just like, I'm going to go compete and see what happens. And I went into almost every match, with the exception of one, with almost no concern about whether I was winning. I was just like, I'm going to figure out, I'm just going to try to win. And I remember one of my matches, I went against this tough wrestler who I watched was taking a break. All right, I'm pulling guard. So I'll pull guard and butterfly swept him, got on top, pass, guard, all stuff. And then, towards the end of the match, I went against Tim Spriggs. And that was when I was like, oh, I'm in the semis now. I need to think about winning. And then lost the match. And then I went back to, I was like, all right, I got to go compete again. Let me go win this match. Let me just get after it. Won the match. And so going back to it, for me, I've always found that this is not true for everybody, but for me, I find that when I focus on winning, I lose matches.
Yeah.
And when I focus on when I don't focus on winning, I win matches. It's a weird thing, right? I've talked about this mindset over and over again. And, this mindset that we try to get into. And for whatever reason, I've lost it. I lost it at this particular tournament. And, I think it was because it was just on my part. I think I was a little bit too cautious, a little bit too conservative. Should have been a little bit more focused on just being aggressive with my jiu-jitsu rather than trying to win the match. And I think that's where I failed. And so looking at it, I'm like, all right, next year, I got my goal. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to change. And it's going to be that, right? And I think it's because if I go back a little bit, last year, I was winning a match by an advantage. And then I kept pressing. And then what did I do? I got caught in an armbar when I could have coasted and just played it safe and could have won that match. So it's this hard battle of like, how hard do you push it? Whatever. And I think the big distinction there is I actually had an advantage versus this one's a ref's decision. So the new rule for myself is if there's an advantage, if there's a point and we need to play conservative, we can play conservative. But if there's no points, we don't want to try to even win by a ref's decision because who the hell knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Even if you think you're winning, I mean, coin flip, who knows what's going to happen? And so again, I was very frustrated about it on Sunday. And by frustrated, I was just very quiet. I was just bummed, felt in a slump. And I remember even like telling Jess when I got home, she's like, how you feeling? I was like, I don't really feel great. I just want to go to sleep. I was like, I just want to I want to be done with today. I don't feel great, whatever. Yeah. And then got up and was fine. And, but like on Sunday, I remember I was sitting there with my student Marvin. I'm looking at competitions. Like there's a competition next week in Charlotte. Maybe I could go get there, whatever. And I'm like looking at the calendar. I'm like, oh damn, we've got like family stuff for Christmas. I'm like, maybe I'll just chill out for a little bit. Let's relax, because for me, I want to get back to it as soon as possible because I want to
understand that.
It's like if you ate like some bad food and you got a taste in your mouth, I want to get rid of that taste in my mouth. And so anyway, getting back to it, I was like, let me just chill out. Let me get a game plan. I know what I'm going to do next and then go from there. And so, but again, it's not that this is all the end of the world and I've been through this before. But it's one of those things where, you have to take your own medicine periodically. And it's been a while since I've like gone to a tournament and, not performed great. And again, I guess this is the issue. What's most frustrating about the loss is not that I lost. It's that I know I had more in me and I chose not to dive into it because I was focused on winning. That's the frustrating part. If I would have lost that match going out like 100% and we had a shootout, man, I'll take that loss any day of the week. But to look at a match where I'm like, you totally could have done more and you didn't because you were giving too much respect or you chose to be a little gun shy. That's the frustrating part. And so that's what we're going to erase this year in 2026 for me. I'm going to get back to my old ways, which is we just go. We don't even worry about the win and the loss. We just worry about doing jiu-jitsu, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what I'm going to work towards.
We got to practice what we preach.
Well,
we both have to practice what,
and I usually do, but you can get away with it.
You haven't been in that situation in a while. You kind of
been a bit.
You're like, all right, I haven't been here. I haven't made this mistake. I haven't, I didn't respect, like, with injuries, like, oh, I probably should have addressed it sooner. I probably should have, started doing some other things. Yep. And I didn't. I just kept kind of training, modifying a little bit here and there, but really didn't take a much different approach to my training. I still kind of did everything the way I was doing it. For you, you have been in that situation a while. You're like, well, it's worked out usually, and this time it didn't.
Yep.
And I think I can speak for us both. That kind of lights a fire underneath you and gives you a little more. It gives you, if you're trying to figure out, like what direction you want to take your jiu-jitsu or this or that, like it's hard. It's sometimes you're like, well, things are just kind of, you're going along. Like for me, I was just kind of training. I'm getting ready for a turn, starting to dial in, and then this kind of derails everything. So I have to revamp my game a little bit, and just readjust. And it's hard. I can't take training for granted. I get so little. I don't feel like I get to train enough as it is. And I feel like sometimes maybe I got a little complacent in training. I didn't push myself as hard as I should have. I'm not saying all the time, but like getting ready for a tournament, I should have been pushing a little bit, at least having more deliberate training sessions, more focused training sessions, deliberate training sessions. And I don't think I did that. And so here I am. It's going to be deliberate, man. Cause every time I come back after an injury, I'm so much more focused and hungry, and it sucks, but you got to take your medicine, right? We got to take your medicine.
That's right. Well, and for me, like this last year, I competed a bunch this past year, in part because of what happened in 2024. Because 2023 or 2022, I won Worlds, and took third in the Open. So I had a great competition, right? Did very well for myself. Like won 1, 2, 3 of my 4 matches in my division by submission. Won, and then, had another, then won 2 matches or whatever in the Open. Go to early 2023. In January, there was another competition and I went against some young guys and did pretty damn well for myself. Yeah. Like actually went, like it was a sub only, but like I got the better of the exchange with some younger black belts. Right. So it's fun, right? Also got some submissions at the competition. So it was fun. I was like, oh, I'm feeling pretty damn good. Yeah. And for whatever reason, I just lost the urge to compete. I was also having some like pseudo medical issues.
Yeah.
That were going on at the time. So I was like, I wanted to get that stuff straightened out. 2024 rolls around and I remember I got the itch again. I was like, I want to compete. So I go out there and compete at Worlds in 2024. And I mean, I lost in the semis to like the guy who won the division. And I realized like I'm right there with all the guys. Like it's a weird thing to explain. And again, this is not a narcissistic view. This is just, I say this to like some of my guys. They're like, Chew, you're like always gloating. I was like, no, I'm just speaking facts. I'm by no means am I the best guy at like the adult division, right? Like the young black belts, whatever. I'm not that guy. But in the masters, in my divisions that I compete in, right, the old guys, I'm one of the best guys in the world.
100%.
Because I don't ever get like nobody like runs through and trashes me. And if they beat me, it's almost always on these razor thin decisions or things, right? So when you realize that, it reminds me of being on a surfboard. You ever surfed?
Yes.
So for any of you
I don't know if you call it surfing, but I
tried
to surf.
Yeah. So when you get on a surfboard, you get out there and you catch the wave. And you can typically, if you know how to read the waves, you can catch the wave and ride it in on your belly pretty easy, right? You just kind of whatever. The minute you get up on the feet and you put your feet on the board, then it becomes hella difficult to balance. Now, when I remember when I was like surfing one time and when I was like first kind of got the hang of it, I was able to kind of read the waves a little bit, by no means not expertly, but I knew enough to, I was like, okay, the waves are coming in because you can see them coming and you got to pick the wave you're going to try to catch. You turn around, you start swimming to pick up some speed. And once that wave hits you, boom, you get that jolt.
Yeah.
And I remember being able to get on the surfboard every now and then for like a couple seconds, 1,000, 2,000, 2. That 2 second, that moment of just like being on the feet is so fun. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to do that again. Let me go back out there. And I remember like the first time I really started getting the hang of it to some degree, which I can't surf worth a crap because I can't train it enough. But I remember swimming out back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, to the point where my upper body was just exhausted. I was so tired because I was just constantly doing it, because you're almost there. You're just that close. And so when you realize that, you're like, oh, I'm with all these guys, right? Like, I have to tweak little small things. And at the higher levels, it's literally just a small mistake.
Yeah. It's a game of inches.
Small mistake. That's it. Right. Like, this weekend, actually, if you want to get down to it, here's where I screwed myself. They gave him a penalty early on in the match.
Okay.
So the woman's going, luch, whatever, basically saying wrestle, go, whatever. And I thought she said combach. And so when I moved forward, and then she gave me a penalty for a false start.
No.
If I wouldn't have moved, I would have went on a penalty call, which again, whatever, but again, it goes back to like, whatever. I was going forward, but it's that point where it's like, it's even more, it's like you're going into these competitions and you know you can win. So it's even more addictive because you're like, I got to do this again. So last year I lose on a really close call. And so then I'm like, competing all this year, and I'm having, doing really well for myself, whatever. Yeah. Actually competed heavier this year for the most part. And then right when I knew I was getting ready for Worlds, did a cut, got down to weight class, and then boom, ready to go. I felt great. Just again, just made some mistakes. So looking forward to 2026 and, getting back out there and competing more, because I'm having fun with it again. Again, I took almost 2 years off. It just wasn't feeling it. And to be honest with you, I think it was because it was like too easy for me, because like basically like Nogi, I won Nogi Pans, and and then like I did Nogi Worlds, right? So I won Nogi Pans in 2020 with some cool submissions. Go to 2021, I had COVID. Like a month after getting off of COVID, I go compete at Worlds. And again, I'm going in there with like my gas tank. I don't have one. Yeah. Like I got lucky by getting 2 quick submissions in my first 2 matches. Third match I come out and the opponent's really good. And he beats me on point he beats me on a score. He scored up on a sweep and I got back up, and then he beat me on 2 points. And then next year I come back, win Worlds. So I'm like, oh, it's almost like it was just too easy. I was always been trying. So now it's like, I'm losing. I'm not just easily winning. I'm like, oh, this is fun. I'm like, so
it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And so like, it's a lot more fun now. And so I'm back at it, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm also enjoying having more of our guys compete with us. It's a lot of fun to get those groups together. And, because you go out and regardless of what's happening, you go out there, and like some of our guys this weekend, it's like, in like football or basketball, you have a young team. Mm-hmm. So the guys that are competing with me a lot, they're a young crew. Yeah. And this is their first time at Nogi Worlds. Right. And like, Marvin is one of them. Like he strategically, if he would have made it to me a tactical error, if he would have tactically changed one thing in his match, he would have beat the guy who ended up winning the division. Wow. And he would have medaled. And I think he could have easily done it. Small tactical error. But again, you don't know until you're at the show. Right. It's really hard. You can't train all these different things. You have to get the experience. This is why, like, if you want to compete, you have to compete, like, because you can't replicate every single scenario. Yeah. Well, you can't replicate every single scenario that's going to happen in the gym, and you have to go experience them. So anyways, that's what I'm doing for me. I'm going to, like, I had a loss. I examined what I did wrong. There's a mental side of it. There's also very much a strategic tactical side of it. And there's also a technical side where I have to adjust and do a few more things to my takedowns, just a slight variation of a couple things that were working but not working. So there's some things there. But otherwise, I take it, and now we're back to normal. I'm not being mopey or anything like that. I had my day to mope. Then afterwards, I'm like, spent a couple days with Jess and Luca, and I had to get CPR certified, whatever. And then after that, now I'm like ready to go back. I trained this morning, back to normal.
You got to go through the process, right? You have to go through it. You have to go, like, it's almost like a grieving process in some way. It's not like a big deal. It's not grieving a loss of something serious.
Yeah, no.
It's a grieving process. It's like you have to let yourself feel it. you have to feel disappointment. Like I felt that through this injury, like I was telling, like I was on the phone with my wife and I got a little bit emotional. I was like, oh, it's going to take some time. I like I'm going to have a change in plans. And I'm also, I have to take care of this thing, because this could become a thing that could impact my life and impact my training, like long term.
Well, and again, you've never had a surgery before, so there's also that, like guys like us that have had surgeries, we're like, whatever.
I'm not worried, I know the process. I've worked with so many people that are post-operative, and like I know the process.
But it's different when you are
it's 100%.
It's different because I remember my first surgery.
Yeah,
like I mean, I'm like, how is this going to change everything? Because it's just meniscus tear, but it's just like what's going to happen, whatever. And it's like, no, we now I'm like, yeah, it's like we can get through this.
There's a lot of fear, like fear of like re-injury and fear of like with competition, fear of like making the same mistakes again, right? Or fear of losing in this, I think getting back on it, like just like that's what I felt when I did ADCC in Vegas. I did the open, not like I did the open. I lost by a negative because I pulled guard stupidly, and I wanted to get back out there. I was like, oh. And I did a little better the second time. We had the ACC in Louisville, did better, but I was like, I want to get out there and compete. And I've really enjoyed competing as well. Like I've competed more recently than I have, and there was a span that I didn't compete for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, it's hard when you've got like two young kids. Young kids. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
It can be, there's periods of time where you got to like other things have to take precedence. So it's hard sometimes where you tell the wife, hey, I'm going to go take a whatever trip to go compete. Yeah, it's a little difficult.
Well, that, and then also like I used to just go out and compete, and now I'm like, well, I have to train. Like I want to get to the gym, but I also want to take care of the physical preparedness, not just the technique. I want to be physically prepared. It's really important. And I think that plays a huge advantage mentally for me. I was talking to my wife, like if I go in there and I feel like my cardio is good and I feel like I've done the strength conditioning work and I've put that time in, it really boosts my, like, I feel like now, like she said, my mindset even changed going into these competitions, because like, since I've been working with Eli and doing like really actually doing training camps, quote unquote, like I kind of make these training camps. Like I know I need at least 8 weeks to get ready. I'm not just going to go out there. I just have a hard time just going out there and winging it. I want to at least, even if I can't get to the gym, but I need to strength train and make sure my body's prepared. If I do that, I feel like strong. I feel confident. I'm not going to lose a ton of technique. It might not be as sharp, but that's kind of the thing. So I think control the things you can.
Kind of on a side tangent. Yeah. I got this sweater out at the tournament, and I didn't even realize this on the side of it. It says no days off. And, I take days off from training. Days off are smart, especially if you're like over the age of 30. Pretty good idea to take days off. But there is an idea of like no days off in the sense of like everything else, right? So for instance, I don't take days off. So for instance, like my diet's always on.
Yeah.
Even if I have a little something, like I just got back from the tournament, had some frozen cheesecake, frozen from not cheesecake, but I don't really like cheesecake. Excuse me, carrot cake. Okay, carrot cake that was frozen from Granny's from Thanksgiving that I didn't eat, and so I've been eating that a little bit. But still, the rest of the diet's the same. There's things that you can always do, like stretching, walks, like mindfulness, meditation, stuff like that, breath work, all that. You can always do this stuff. There's always things that you can do, even studying, right? Like I take a couple days a week where I'll two study sessions where I'll either study matches or instructionals, like looking through those depending on what I'm looking at. Like I've been breaking down the matches from the worlds. There's just a bunch of cool, I've been recording videos of it. There's a bunch of cool, like little small detail things that I liked that I'm going to be sharing with, especially the students and people and like my master's vault, right? Sharing that with them. But studying, there's always something you can do, that you can do to support it. It may not be the thing you want to do, but there's always something you can do. So that idea of no days off, I like that idea, just not necessarily in the sense of like, I'm going to train really hard every day. It's like, there's something I can do to move the needle forward for me. I even do the same in my business, right? Like I don't take days off, even on holidays. There's always a little something I do for the work, because one, I like doing the work, but also two, it's just a rhythm. I don't want to interrupt the rhythms.
Right.
So I always do a little something. But what up, guys? Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you got something from it. Maybe a couple ideas to chew on. Obviously, a little bit of a different episode. We're kind of going through it right now. So we're going to, and you got some ideas of what we're doing. But, in the months to come, you'll kind of see what happens. And hopefully I can come back to you guys with some positive reports on me being a guard puller in competition, or more aggressively using my wrestling and not being such a conservative Jiu-Jitsu practitioner on the competition. Again, it bugs me because I'm like, I don't normally do that. And I did it. I'm like, I'm mad at myself. So I'm going to change it anyway. But hopefully you guys get some ideas to chew on. We'll talk to you more about it later in the future. But again, big thanks to you guys for listening to the podcast. If you guys are listening and you can rate the podcast, it always helps if people give us like reviews, whether that be a thumbs up on YouTube or some stars or whatever else you got, it does help. So if you do like the podcast and you don't want to become a Patreon member, you don't want to support the podcast with the sponsors and stuff like that, which is completely fine. I understand. Simple, like no cost way that you could do it is simply just to give us a positive review on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or even just, thumbs up on the podcast on YouTube if you so choose to. But again, big thanks to our sponsors because they do help make the podcast happen and they're good sponsors. Again, as I've talked about many times, I try to, we don't take on a ton of sponsors in comparison to how many have sort of inquired about it because I don't like the products and don't believe in them. And I don't want to be associated with garbage. That's a big deal, right? Like, I would tell you that there was a situation I had at the other day with it was a rental car situation. It's a big mess. And anyway, I ended up getting referred to another rental car company from another one, had a terrible experience. And now I associate the original rental car company with the experience that I had with another rental car because I was referred to them, right? And so I will never go to that rental car company ever again. Now, am I a big deal? No, I don't. I used to rent from that particular rental car company for whatever, but I'm not going to do it again because I had such a bad experience from it. I'm like, well, why would you refer me to these people, which were even worse? Yeah. And again, it's a long story, but I won't share that to you. But nonetheless, I know that when you get referred, if you guys have a bad experience with the product, you're like, well, Chewy, he told me to do this. And so I don't ever want to give you guys garbage. So with that said, Athletic, THC mints, and cannabinoid mints, you can check them out. They are a low dose of THC, so like 2 milligrams per mint. They have 3 different packages, 3 different things they offer. They have a flow, rebound, and let's see if I open these up. Flow, rebound, and power. Each one is a different formulation of THC, THCV, CBG, CBD, and all that fun stuff, and a little THC. And so again, what that does is it will help you get into different states for different things that you might want to do, like a flow state. And again, it's like most things, you kind of want to feel it for yourself to see what you think. Obviously, if you're getting tested for THC, probably not going to be the best thing for you. But if you want to try them out and see what kind of effect they give to you, you can check them out at athletic.com, ATHLETHC.com. And the promo code is Chewjitsu10 for 10% off the order at checkout. Again, I've used them off and on several times. They became a sponsor last year. I think the products are good, worth trying out if you want to give them a go. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Epic Roll. They're at epicrollbjj.com. If you guys want to check them out, they make amazing jiu-jitsu gear, great merch, t-shirts, shorts, whatever you want, gis, anything and everything jiu-jitsu related. They make it, great customer service, good quality stuff. Bang for your buck. Pound for pound, whatever you want to think about it as. I like their no-gi stuff as good as anything on the market. I've used a lot of stuff. Some stuff is way more expensive, and I think that their quality and what they produce is perfectly good. And it's why I get my jiu-jitsu stuff made from them. My gym stuff's getting made through them, and I get a lot of different products made through them because I like what they put together. And so if you guys want to check them out at epicrollbjj.com. And the promo code to save 20% off is Chewjitsu20. Also, thanks to our longtime sponsor, Charles Webb. Again, if you've never checked them out before, check them out. They're one of the OGs in the CBD space, but they also have a lot of other products like CBN, which can be really useful for sleep. If you've never tried a CBN supplement, that can be a game changer for some people. They also do things like functional mushrooms like reishi and lion's mane to support cognitive function, deal with stress. They also have a lot of different balms and things like that you can rub on sore muscles that can be very useful in a pinch. And so, again, longtime user of the products. They've been really good for me, at least. And so I encourage people to try them out and see what you think. And if you want to try anything out that you find on their website, you can save 30% on the order by using the promo code Chewjitsu30 for 30% off at charlesweb.com. Also, if you guys want to support the podcast directly, you can roll on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. When you join up, you'll get access to a bunch of different perks, including an exclusive library of stuff that we've made and different things that have come over the years, such as warm-up routines and stretching routines for grapplers specifically, things that we just see that people struggle with. Muscle imbalances. Like a lot of people are like, what kind of muscle imbalances are common in jiu-jitsu? I'm like, well, there's some things that are common amongst us
Mhm.
and like hips and shoulders and things like that. And Eugene's put together some different stretching routines in there that are relatively short that you can try out. And there's also some seminar recordings, and we update the library every week. And there's some other perks if you want to check it out. And if you guys want to join my Chew Crew, which is my daily email that I send out, and get a free focused jiu-jitsu guide that goes through some ideas on how to get more focused and deliberate with your training, you can do so by going to my website at jiu-jitsu.net/join. And when you join up, you'll get access to the ebook. You'll also get my daily email. And along with all of that, you will get different messages and offers and things like that I send out, that I only send out through the Chew Crew, one of which is currently, which I'm telling you, so I guess it's not necessarily exclusive, but if you join the Chew Crew, you'll get it. I'm right now opening up the doors to it. It's called the Master's Vault. It's a new program that I started. And again, it's mainly just a chance for me to focus on the type of jiu-jitsu that I'm focused on, which is jiu-jitsu for older people. I still obviously teach different stuff to my younger guys, but the type of jiu-jitsu that I really like focusing on is that timeless, like efficient jiu-jitsu that you can use from white belt to black belt at any age. Right? Like, so stuff that I can use at any age group. You know, there's some things that you're going to see a lot of younger guys use that you will not see older guys use as much. Some people, but not as many. And again, the game changes a little bit. And so it's for people that want to stay effective on the mats. They want to be able to hang with the younger bucks as best they can. And they want to be able to do so while managing longevity and keeping themselves optimized for that. And so we'll get more into that in that program if you guys want to check it out. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all as always. And we'll talk to you next week.